Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The ceremony is about to begin. The entertainment for this evening is not new. You've seen this entertainment through and through. You have seen your birth, your life, your death. You may recall all the rest. Did you have a good world when you died? Enough to base a movie on? Good evening, everybody. Yes, indeed. It is the old wolf with you again, coming at you live from Rochester, New York. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, March 7th, 2023. Another episode of the Witch and the Wolf Wisdom Podcast. Episode 60, milestone. Dancing with Wolves. Good evening, all my friends. Brother Jonathan, sisters Angela, Honora, everybody. Come on in.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Hello.
It's another night.
Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, manager. She jumps right to it. She's like, let us shamelessly self-promote ourselves. But yes, please like, share, and subscribe.
Because we love you.
And we hope that you love us. I
love
think.
Me. I need you to love me.
But yes, it's time for another episode. As always, the opinions, views, expressions, thoughts, madness expressed is mine and mine alone unless you choose to share it. Sometimes we share things like memes and stuff. Some things will come from stock photography or just world events. Again, no copyright infringements are intended. We provide this not only for entertainment purposes, but for educational purposes to some degrees. We hope. We try. Doesn't always play out that way, but
come
hey,
dance in our madness.
Come dance in our madness. So yes, a couple things we always like to talk about. And quite interesting. See, then that's not coming up now.
What's not coming up?
The Wolfpack.
You gotta open it, do the promo thing.
Technology.
Why?
Yes, gotta love it. See, yeah, this is what happens when you do a live show. Sometimes things,
like
go sideways.
But okay.
I want to thank everybody again for participating in this month's kind of contest / hey, share your shit with us type of thing. I'm going to announce the winner for February in a little while. Share some of the stuff that came with it. But we're going to do it again next month. And again, pretty much anything you can imagine. Share your stories, your artwork, your poems, your music. It doesn't matter. It's just really reflective of whatever you feel like sharing. And we believe that that is part of the magic, part of the dynamic that we all enjoy. I know I enjoy, and since it's my fucking podcast, please send it to me.
I mean, if I enjoy it, if I didn't enjoy it, I'd be sitting in the other room.
Well, I mean,
anyway,
but you're emotionally compromised. But yeah, just shoot me an email, wolf@oldwolfmusic.com. So we always try and start our shows with, talking about some of the people that we support and support us. I got my brother, Tattoo Tony Rodriguez. We're going to keep the focus this week a little bit about music. BrokenPastNewJersey.com. They just recently did a show at the Stone Pony with their new singer. Really great set. Really great evolution of the band.
Great doing it.
And they sounded really good.
And they said, whoever their photographer was, as a photographer, I have to say kudos, because those were some great shots.
I'm not familiar with who it was, but I know that's online. You can check them out on Facebook, or again, go to www.brokenpastnewjersey.com. They're going to be recording some new material, setting up some shows and stuff. So yeah, go out there, check them out. If you're in the Central Jersey Shore area, definitely look for their shows. But one of the things I also wanted to talk about, again, early in the show, and it's a dynamic that I have been involved with for some time, but it's now beginning to change, and that is the dynamic of supporting local music, local bands. And for years, I have been part of the Central Jersey, Jersey Shore rock scene. But I've lived up here now in Rochester for going on a little bit over 4 years.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Now, part of the dynamic was the pandemic. COVID came and
Fucked
everything shut the fuck down. So there were no live shows and none of that was going on. And I did all my music remotely. That aspect is starting to shift. We went out last year. We went down to New Jersey, supported the Under My Skin for Life Foundation. We went to Texas. We went to New Orleans. This year, Shiya and I have decided we're going to keep the focus more locally and at home. And with that, I have, and Shiya has with me, taken some extra steps to become more involved locally here. So on Sunday, we were invited to go down to the local radio station, WRFC 106.3 FM here in Rochester, for Rock the Rock. And it's basically a local rock show that talks about what's going on here in Rochester, music, etc., etc. The guy in question is this guy here, Brian Judah. Thank you, brother, for having us down. Looking forward to doing some other stuff with you. And again, this is a nonprofit radio station. This is a community radio station that doesn't have super reach, but they do stream online, so it is accessible to wherever you are in the world. But in the spirit, because he had us down and, we were talking about things. If you're up in the Rochester, New York area, okay, this weekend, March 10th, Brian's band, Day's End, is playing at a little place called Pineapple Jack's with special guests, Bobby and the Four Speeds. Now, again, I have not had the pleasure of seeing these guys yet, but I have checked them out online. These are some really good musicians, I have to say. Really good musicians, and in the spirit of supporting each other, granted, we were talking about it earlier, I have people who listen from all over the world, people from New Zealand, Romania, England.
We were looking at some of our demographics.
Texas, all over the place.
Texas is its own country, by the way, just so anybody knows.
That's a you thing, and that's another show.
Yes.
Now, we always can't go locally to these places. So if you live in Texas, it's probably not going to be practical for you to go to Rochester, New York, or vice versa. If you live in Romania, I don't expect you to get your passport stamped and, come zipping all the way out here.
I do.
But social media and the internet allows us to interact. So even if it's just, hey, going on their Facebook page, giving them a like, or when they put up videos like we do, like, share, subscribe. It costs nothing.
It does us a world of good.
You know what I mean?
And it
helps. Well, not just us, but it helps every band, every musician. It doesn't matter if it's Tony and Broken Past, or Brian and Day's End, or myself and Old Wolf Music. This is how it works organically. So if you're out in Rochester this weekend, come check them out. I'm going to have them on the show down the road. I'm going to feature some of their music down the road. And I'm looking forward to doing a whole lot more locally here.
Yeah.
So thanks again. Namaste. Great to see. Kepe, Hui, Kamoni, Swamp Witch. Welcome everyone, one and all, to the show.
Glad to have you.
So, I wanted to use the dynamic of Dancing with Wolves, not just so much in the element of the obvious play on the movie, but in a little bit more of a lighthearted dynamic. So, as my friend the squirrel says, let the shit show begin.
Woohoo!
Yes. You gotta get a little weird, a little funky.
It's get weird near.
I commented the other day, and I try very hard to apply this as much as I can. I'm a firm believer in comedy as a healing tool. Many times, the shit that we have to contend with, there really is no other way to spin it besides comedy that isn't more destructive, damaging, distasteful. So I've, over the years, adapted and adopted different approaches. I make the running joke about coming from the George Carlin School of Comedy, but I do believe that it is a good skill, a good tool. And when we can even just sometimes bring it down a notch or two. You know, it's like the difference between an F3 tornado and an F1 tornado. Yeah, they're both probably going to blow your roof off, but one of you, you know, might be able to get through it if it's on the lower end scale versus it being not. It's not a perfect system, but I find again that it's the lesser of fucking two evils sometimes, and better to put, you know, a spin on something shitty than, you know, to just kind of drown in said shit. So in the theme of shit, okay.
Shit.
You know, people always, you know, hey, you know, tell us about, you know, you. We want to see you. We want to know you. So here it is.
And the witch is always.
This is me trying to find the exact amount of pressure to fart, but not shit myself. This is actually, you know, one of those selfies.
That's so fucking perfect.
I don't know how I ended up becoming a fucking meme, but yeah, I'm okay with this dynamic because it conveys the element. Okay?
It is actually you.
It is.
We look at each other, and sometimes, you know, somebody will rip one out, and we'll look at them and like, did you shit yourself?
Nope.
You need to go to the bathroom and check.
Well, listen, again, in the simplest analogy, my brother Ice Cube didn't shit myself. Today was a good day. And that's a line I'll use. And, you know, I used it the other day. Someone had posted online that, you know, they were feeling kind of down and they were struggling a little bit. And it's, you know, it's hard sometimes because we, as empaths, we want to respond. We want to be like, hey, don't feel that way. But I also know better. I don't want to invalidate somebody's feelings. You know what I mean? I don't want to assume a dynamic, especially when, you know, a lot of times people don't want, you know, a pity response. So I go to the comedy. I go to the dark humor. So I threw out there, oh, listen, sometimes dark humor is the thing. And I threw out the classic meme. Hey, when it seems, you know, like it's fucked up out there, just ask yourself, did you shit yourself today? If the answer is no, you're doing okay. You know what I mean? And the same analogy with Ice Cube. Didn't shit myself. Today was a good day.
I count any day I don't shit myself as a positive.
Listen, you know, I think it's a good compass. You know what I mean? And Swamp Witch, you know, throws
he's
little
very
dynamic
apt with that, yes.
You know what? And I'm going to switch this over so other people can see, because we got this.
But yes, Swamp Mission
working again. No.
Hello, Diana, Marcia. Good to see you.
Oh, the Assassin Queen. Hello, my sister Marcia. Welcome. So Swamp Witch says, I have a squirrel in my backyard, always runs across the fence. He will often stop on the fence, look at me, and just sit there for a bit to visit. I named him Slappy after Slappy from Tiny Toons. Great analogy.
Tiny Toons, yes.
Yeah, listen, I have a whole host of animated characters that live in my fucking head, and I get it.
I like his second comment better. I like his second. You gonna read that one?
Yes. You ever notice people say, I'm gonna take a shit? You actually don't take a shit, you leave one. Don't take my shit. I might need it when the weekend comes up. Listen, that's fair. Listen, people's shit is personal and they have a right to hang on to their shit if they want. I highly suggest you let that shit go, because if you let the shit build up, you never know, you know, it could end up badly.
Exactly.
Fucking sister Diana is like, my 7-year-old dad says, I can't even shit my pants if I want to.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's rough.
That sucks.
I don't have that problem.
X-Lax.
Yeah, that don't. And then have a hot nurse clean me.
Oh,
yes.
no. Kapui says I dropped mine off at the pool.
Listen,
Please
yeah.
don't.
But this is the beauty of it. This is
comedy.
This is the magic of it. You can take something as juvenile and fucking stupid as shit, and you can literally fling it about and, you know, make it into a party.
See, I'm just waiting for the day when you're attempting to Dutch oven me, and somehow you manage to.
See, now, how did it go from that?
Because you were telling any day you don't shit your pants is a good day. I know one of these days when you're trying to give me in a Dutch oven, you're going to shit your pants, and I'm going to
maybe, but that'll probably end worse for you.
Probably.
Marcia says, my job is fun, but these people are as different as I. I feel like the oddball, but in a good way. I love messing with people. I love messing with people, too.
You're enjoying your new job, Marcia.
See, I love messing with people when they don't realize that it's actually happening because they're lost in some other tangent, and you can just kind of spin them along Like, wee!
Jonathan has a good point. I didn't strangle any stupid people today, so today was a good day.
Yes.
Yes. Just remember, they're not worth the prison time.
Listen, George Carlin would be the first one to tell you, if he were still around to tell you, and Shiya could probably channel him, I think, at this point, but I don't know if he wants to actually communicate with us, because he kind of fucking, I think, had enough of the bullshit.
He wanted out of this planet.
He wanted out, but
he was like, this place is...
I use Carlin's stuff all the time. There is nothing wrong with using the dynamics of our past. Words have been used a million times over and will be used a million times over again. It is the nature of how we communicate, how we share stories. Everything borrows from everything. And hence, in an odd kind of way, in the 6 degrees of separation connected to Kevin Bacon, we're all connected.
Yeah.
So we're all related to Kevin Bacon, indirectly or not. Now, I don't know how that bodes for Kevin. That basically means that anybody that Kevin fucks, it's incestual. Sorry, Kev, I had to go there. I hear people say that. I don't know if it's really true, but that's what people say.
Incest and
Hey, Julie, welcome. Thanks for joining.
At least according to Game of Thrones.
Listen, again, depending upon what side of the fence you're on, everybody's got their take.
Or if you're in one of those states.
Yeah, well.
Any of you guys in one of those states?
Listen, I am sometimes the king of inappropriate humor. So here's some inappropriate humor. This is something that came up on my feed, and I was just all right, I'm still trying to figure this one out. And if anybody who's watching can figure this out, it's just basically a bunch of the different Batmans with the one old 60s one, LSD, Jack Nicholson, cocaine, Heath Ledger, heroin, Jared Leto, meth, and then Harley Quinn blowing an imaginary dick. I'm not sure how all these things tie together, but it was odd enough to say, well, this is like some fucked up jigsaw puzzle. You know what I mean? I couldn't piece it together. Julie, unfortunately, Tuesday nights are not reading night. Podcast nights are where basically it's music, it's talk, it's comedy, it's inappropriate memes, it's sometimes people licking beaver assholes, assassin queens show up and read poetry to shred people's minds.
Readings tomorrow night.
Jim Morrison shows up and, Shiya channels him, and, it really gets weird when the Lizard King shows up. But, yeah, that's what happens out here on Tuesday nights. I just
want somebody to show up and start doing the, what was that movie? I Am a Golden God.
Oh, that's Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Yes, Almost Famous.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Swamp Witch says it's a parody of what different drugs to you. Yeah, I guess that's a good analogy. I don't know where the Harley Quinn part comes in, but...
It says something about you want to know where I got these scars. Maybe he was high while she was blowing him, and that's how he got the scars. I mean,
parody of Half-Baked, maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
Listen, I'm pretty good when it comes to pop culture, but this one, again, and I figured, the drugs things, obviously...
Yeah.
But it was the correlation to, all of a sudden, OnlyFans Harley Quinn and the rest of the drug, thing. So, I don't know sometimes, things get weird. Some, I think, are very easy to really, piece together where they were trying to go. This one I love, and it's just basically a meme of some cats around a Ouija board. And the caption, for those of you at home who are just listening and can't see it, it says, when you die, but your cats still want to meow at you at 3 a.m. for food.
Ours don't meow at us for food. Ours just meow at us for no damn good reason.
Yeah, the cats in our house have all gotten together, and they've come up with their own language, and they know the triggers.
Let me sing.
Listen, they're almost
of my people.
They're almost at the point where they can open doorknobs. They figured out how to get up on the door. They put their paws around it. They haven't gotten the thumb thing, but they figure if they fucking just bounce off the walls, that maybe with enough momentum, and they do. They fucking get the paw under the door, and they'll just shake the door. They'll just shake it back and forth, and then you just lose your fucking mind. You're like, cat, go away.
Right. And they don't just go up and just touch the doorknob. Salem especially goes up and tries to work the doorknob to where he can turn it. He will try to get a good grip on it. And I swear, sometimes I can see a doorknob starting to turn, but he just can't complete the whole
Right.
unlatching of it.
Just there.
It's just like, oh, man.
Swamp Witch pulls out another great little piece of comedy, an old Bob Saget.
He's on a roll tonight.
And Bob was doing one of his stand-up things. And for those of you who don't know, he wasn't always just the cutesy, ABC sitcom guy. He was a deep down the rabbit hole motherfucker. Let me tell you, he had some hardcore comedy. But one of his skits was basically talking about that there's a part in there about marijuana being a drug. And Bob Saget goes, marijuana isn't a drug. I used to suck dick for coke. And he asked the guy, hey, did you ever suck dick for weed? I don't know anybody who ever sucked dick for weed. Maybe.
I do.
Well, see, now then again, Chai has to be the one to blow the joke apart.
Throw the monkey wrench in.
Izzy, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Izzy.
So, again, sometimes comedy obviously is perspective and context. Somebody somewhere, as soon as you cross the realm into anything that's even remotely considered offensive, and understandably, that might be a trigger for somebody. It may not make sense to them, or they just simply, hey, I don't find that funny.
I find it hilarious.
I get it. No, listen, I get it. But this is the world we live in, so I'm going to continue. I thought this meme was great. Living in the dynamics of cancel culture, for those of you who don't know, yes, we had to take the Indian off the Land O'Lakes butter package. And the meme caption is right on point. Well, how American. They got rid of the Indian and kept the land.
Yep.
Ba-boom. Yes. Right. We can cancel the fucking Indian off the goddamn box, but we'll keep the land. Now, the other side of the coin with this, and I can relate to this because I grew up on cartoons like Bugs Bunny and shit like that. So here we have a 1945 cartoon character, which is Pepe Le Pew, and he's been canceled because he has been quote-unquote labeled dangerous to our children. The 2021 Grammy Awards, wholesome family entertainment. For those of you who didn't catch that show, yes, they are basically grinding their vaginas together.
Scissors!
Because that's family entertainment. Now listen again, I like women when they grind their vaginas together. I know that sounds sexist. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to own it. Okay? I'm not going to force you to. I'm not going to hide in your bathroom and, take shots of you from inside your toilet and shit like that. But like a lot of other men, I do respond to female sexuality. But I think maybe we've just gone a little bit too fucking far when we're freaking out about cartoons, but we're not really worried about this shit. Right, my sister Diane says, there's a county in Florida that's banning books, but hey, this is on TV. A 5-year-old child can go on to the internet and access anything you can imagine, okay? Literally anything you can imagine.
Well, what gets me is
we're going to go after the old cartoons.
Or they want to cancel the Baby It's Cold Outside song, and I'm walking around listening.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Wet Ass Pussy.
I do
Baby,
not know.
It's cold outside. Remember that one?
No, and they don't want to.
Aw.
And this is how we cancel.
I just got canceled.
Now, again, when I find myself in times of trouble, Gordon Ramsay comes to me speaking words of wisdom. Get your shit together. Get your shit together.
Where's the lamb sauce?
I personally think that that's inspirational. Like, if you can channel Gordon Ramsay in times of trouble and you can hear his words of wisdom, you are ahead of the curve. You're okay. Because most of us have fucking demons spinning around in our heads saying, burn it all, kill them all. They don't deserve to live anymore. So, if you got Gordon versus that, yeah, you're doing better than I am.
Get your shit together.
But this one definitely tickled me. And I think a lot of, guys probably can relate to this. I had those moments way back when I did drink. First date me. She's really cool. Don't fuck things up this time. Inner me. Get blackout drunk and act a fool.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, despite our best efforts, sometimes we can't help but literally shoot ourselves in the dick. That's what happens, okay? Now, I would humbly suggest to somebody who's been on both ends of the bar that certain dynamics, aka alcohol and first dates, probably don't mix, just like cocaine and oral sex doesn't mix, okay? There are other dynamics like gasoline and fire don't mix. So, simple kind of, hey, if you're going to go out on a first date, don't get blackout drunk. It's not rocket science. It really isn't.
When I was dating, if I went out on a first date and somebody even had more than a couple of drinks, I would be like immediate next. I don't care if they didn't get drunk.
Yeah, listen, I mean, again, some of us just can't help ourselves.
Done. Over it.
Now, in the spirit of the wolf theme, I've got a bunch, of different little wolf things. We're going to take a music thing, and then we're going to, announce the winner from the month and some of the photos that she had submitted. But here's an interesting dynamic, and I thought this was an apt one. Pain is your friend. Pain is your ally. Pain tells you when you have been wounded badly. But you know what the best thing about pain is? It tells you you are not dead yet.
Yep.
And there it is sometimes. Sometimes the lesser of two evils is taking the shitty, painful moments and just flipping them, either via comedy or just, again, in the simple dynamic, well, I didn't shit myself and I'm not dead yet. These are two, not one, but two bonuses.
I feel fine.
You know what I mean? So, it's about that perspective, to find hope, to find strength, to find beauty in whatever we can, even if it's just in the moment. Yeah, sometimes we got to fake it. But the other side of the coin is ultimately worse. Yeah, and Swamp, I'm definitely with you. I'm a proponent, I would much rather see people, smoke weed than take pharmaceuticals or fucking drink or any number of analogies where people are forced, I believe, to go into these really dark scenarios. Pharmaceuticals are a fucking nightmare. Alcohol is by its own definition poison.
It is.
So the good time effect that you get really isn't so much a good time. It's your brain dying and you're basically, you're fucking hallucinating from the aspect, you get the same effect if you go out into the ocean and drown, basically.
You're having a wake for your brain cells.
Yes. But we've created a culture which says, hey, your life will be better if you just drink this. Women will love you and find you sexy if you just drink this.
Not.
Alcohol can and does kill you, Diane. You're correct. Pot, as you've heard, does not. Yeah, I've never read anything that suggested that, somebody smoked a joint and then died. I'm sure somewhere, there might be a correlation. Somebody smoked a joint, wasn't paying attention when they walked out into the road, and then they got hit by an ice cream truck. You know what I mean? I suppose that's a possibility.
Worst thing I've ever had with pot is the spins.
Right. Hypothetically, you smoke some pot and you get the munchies, and then you start eating some Doritos, and you're just shoving so many fucking Doritos in your mouth that all of a sudden you inhale it and you choke to death and you die from inhaling fucking Doritos. So, you know, the correlation, obviously, well, if they didn't smoke the weed, then they wouldn't have had the munchies and they would not have been eating Doritos at, 5,000 miles an hour. And hence, yeah. And, I'm sure, any number of scenarios like, hey, if you weren't flying on that plane when the hijackers decided to fly it into a fucking building, well, so, again, you could hide in the plastic fucking bubble and the world will still find a way to fuck you.
Eat Doritos
Some people do believe that pot is a gateway. Listen, there are scenarios, depending upon the person and obviously the details, where, yeah, it'll start off, somebody will start smoking pot, and then they'll start drinking, and then they'll start popping pills, and then they're shooting heroin, and the next thing you know, they're shaving cats and shoving the fur up their ass because somebody told them that's how you can become a furry.
That's random.
Yeah, people die from eating all the time, so yeah.
Yes, eat Doritos.
Drunks, absolutely. Alcohol definitely will trigger, violent dynamics.
You want a scary statistic?
Not particularly, but
100% of the people who have died drink water.
Yes, there it is. If you drink water, eventually you will die. So by that very definition, you're all fucked, so you might as well go out there and do whatever. This is the insanity. You know what I mean? Because people, and full disclaimer, all right, let's back up. I am not endorsing saying that, hey, there's no point to anything and just to go out there and run wild, because there is a point. It's just whether or not that point matters to you or not. Honey, it's like I hate water. I'm safe.
Take what you need.
Yeah, take what you need, leave the rest behind.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna preview again one of the tracks that we played a little bit last week. It's one of the new ones in development. I call it Shiya's song, but it's actually called Crisis of Confusion. It doesn't have the words or the lyrics yet because being written and she has to fucking sing them. So we're going to pop with that, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this week's winner and some pictures that she had submitted, and more music and more comedy, and we'll be back in a moment. So yeah, that's the early version of a new track coming down the pike called Crisis of Confusion. My sister Diana, the Assassin Queen, hit us with an impromptu poem during that. I'm going to read it for those of you at home. To run amok in the woods with reckless abandon and seek the adventures not to end on. The final notes of end, as the journey doesn't tend to ever end. Forever it shall go with reckless abandon. Very nice, very nicely done. Dynamics sometimes come to us in moment. Energy, not unlike an old radio signal, will come in and out. We'll catch a moment, we'll catch a flash, and then we lose it. Dreams, many times, are like that. A lot of people talk about how they don't remember their dreams, and it gets lost in the static for whatever reason. And everybody has different reasons as to why they translate things in a particular way. Some of us dream very vividly, some of us don't, but it is a dynamic that we can learn, we can grow, we can adapt to different ways. And that brings us to one of the submissions. Now, I had received a submission a couple of weeks ago, but again, with the way that I do the show, I've been kind of, staging it. So when I get them in, I kind of slot them into the show. And we've been getting a lot of submissions. And I've been trying to make it a point that to give everybody that dynamic. Because I believe that even if I don't see the dynamic in, you might, Diana might, Swamp Witch might. So I don't want to become so arrogant to say, well, just because I don't see the dynamic in the thing doesn't mean that somebody else. So I've been trying to share everything. Now, I was very moved and inspired by these. And the little bit of backstory here is simply, and again, as you can see on the screen, the Wolfpack graphic, Lauren D. is this month's winner. Now, again, she had submitted this a couple of weeks ago, and we put everybody's names in the hat, and then she won. And just coincidentally, this is the night that I'm showing her photography. So Lauren did some photography during one of the recent auroras.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And it really is. It's just some really nice, organic moments. And, the saying, a picture says 1,000 words, really is apt. So this is the first one, and you can see it's just kind of a shot up into the trees, and you can see the color dynamic, the bright green element in the sky. And, for those of you who are maybe not, following, science or what's going on, but the sun has been very active. Yeah. And the sun has been trying to basically Dutch oven the planet. And as such, when this happens, the interactions between energies, particles, photons, magnetic fields, all these fancy science words creates auroras. Now, back in the day within our cultures, this was magic. This was the gods. You know what I mean? But now we understand it for what it is. Doesn't make it any less magical.
Amazing.
But it is reflective of the interaction between things. And quite simply, our world with everything that's around us. So here's another one. And you can see again just the vivid colors. You know what I mean? That
she'll have to correct me, but I think she lives in Alaska.
I'm not sure. I didn't want to, again, put that out there. Just for, the basic element that not everybody wants everybody to know where the fuck they are. Me personally, I don't care. I started every show. I'm like, hey, I'm in Rochester, New York. Here I am. Here's another great shot, and you can see the dynamic with the way the light and the lens flare plays against it.
Beautiful.
This is more of a kind of a wider screen dynamic, but you can see the whole sky was lit up. And there's a lot of this kind of stuff out here from these recent auroras. But, this is the type of stuff, these moments when we can experience, you know what I mean, that really, they inspire us in many ways. They give us elements of things that words really just can't always describe.
Yep.
You know, you can take the magic of a song, and the words with the music carries that extra dynamic. You pull the words out, the words still have meaning, but they're not quite the same without the music that gives it the weight.
Yep.
So this shit's going on above us all the time, but sometimes, depending upon how the angle is and where we're at in the moment, we actually get to experience it.
And it's magical when we get to experience the nature and science.
And here's a final one that, again, you can see across the snowy...
The snowscape.
Snowscape, thank you. You see the trees in the background, but you can see that the sky is just alive. You know, I thought about that. It's a great point, Diana. You know, a musical soundtrack. But sometimes it's better to let a thing speak for itself. I believe they're in Alaska. I don't know if Lauren's on with us right now. She may not be because of time zone differences or whatever, you know. So I will definitely, when I speak to her again, get a little bit more detail and bring that up. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming, again, obviously, because of the dynamics of how the aurora works, it's obviously up in the northern hemisphere dynamics. And the snow is a pretty giveaway that it's someplace where it's still fucking cold enough to snow. Because these pictures are only a couple of weeks old. But they're beautiful. And I have to say, again, I am humbled and really grateful for the dynamic. Everybody who has been supporting and sending stuff in. And please continue to do so. Pictures, poems, stories, questions, art, music. It doesn't matter. Anything that speaks to you, please send it in.
You would like to be a guest on the podcast.
Right, or if you want to come on and tell some fucking stupid jokes, or like Diana did, come read some poetry. Any number of dynamics are open and available to everybody out there.
I say everybody can come and read stupid jokes except for Jonathan, because he's going to dad joke people.
No, I have to have Jonathan on just because you don't want him to. Okay.
He will dad joke people to death.
Listen, and some people enjoy that.
I know. He comes on my lives and tells the dad jokes, and I'm like, ah.
But, you know, part of, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, part of why I do this is to document people's stories, their magic, their lives. It's not just about me. It's not just about the witch and the wolf. It's about the people around us that we interact with, that we love, that we share our strength, our hope, our fears, our dreams, our nightmares. So,
honestly, I don't know what you're talking about. I know it's all about me.
Well, that's you. You know, and
I'm an Aries.
I'm smart enough to know better than to contest that. So, yeah, one of the things I've been doing a little bit more is embracing the wolf element. So I wanted to bring some wolf dynamics out tonight. So who can't love this? And for those of you who can't see it, it's just a picture of some baby wolf pups. Okay? Yes, they're adorable. And they're also endangered and very misunderstood. Okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about wolves, okay? Wolves are not the fucking monsters that they have been made out to be throughout history. Yes, obviously there were dynamics when we as humans kind of encroached into the natural dynamics, and so while we were raising sheep, the wolves are like, well, why should we have to go hunt when they have put them all here in a nice box for us?
There's a buffet.
So yes, they would go in and they would go after our livestock. That's what they do. They kill to eat. They eat to survive.
It's like you passing a turnip.
It's not very much different than what we do. But again, they don't have the benefit of our communication. Now, this is a shot of some gray wolves up in Montana. Gray wolves, again, are an endangered species. They've been hunted down to pathetically low numbers. Now, for those of you who don't know, empathy, aka emotions, are not unique to humans, okay?
No.
Living creatures and even to some degrees, plants have dynamics of emotions. They feel things. They respond to the environment, the dynamics around them. So here are a couple little things about wolves. Wolves are incredibly loyal. They will stay together in packs for generations, and they will delegate between themselves elements of who's going to take care of the kids, who's going to protect the back of the pack, who's going to run lead on the hunts and defend the weaker, older ones. And they are incredibly, and I mean incredibly, adaptive to the world around them. Now, the old analogy, and I use it, wolves run in packs, okay? Yes, sometimes you will encounter the lone wolf, but it is not usually by choice. They understand the dynamic, just as we should, of strength in numbers.
Big time.
Okay? Again, not rocket science, okay? The more that you have to work from, the better you're able to accomplish said goals, be it hunting, be it defense, be it whatever. And Amy Marie, I absolutely agree with you. We need to learn from wolves. We need to better understand the world around us before we don't have a world around us. And I'm not talking about this ridiculous dynamic. Everybody needs to go hug a tree and, you know,
Although I do recommend tree hugging.
Listen, I love trees. I don't want to cut down any more trees because, again, we have the technology to not have to do it. It's a luxury we can't afford anymore, especially when you look at the science. But the dynamics of nature and the world, our planet, we are but a part of. And those dynamics are reflective of each other. Einstein famously talks about the dynamic of the bee and how important bees are to our survival with a little thing called pollination. Well, the dynamics of things like wolves and other predators within nature helps maintain the balance for other things as well, too. It's a very large picture that when you remove dynamics, not unlike removing gears from a machine, the whole fucking machine starts to fall apart.
Now, the most modern example of this is Yellowstone, where they introduced the wolves back into Yellowstone, and it fixed the entire ecology of the area.
Now, listen, again, we have interacted within dynamics. Our pets, dogs, pretty much evolved from wolves. We domesticated them. They have interacted with us since the beginning. Again, they're incredibly loyal. They're protective. They're insightful. Okay? So we've established historically that we can interact. We can live side by side. Now, does that mean you should run out into Yellowstone and just go try and hug a wild wolf? No! Okay? Don't do the Steve Irwin stupid shit. That's how you end up fucking dead. Okay? But we can better respect them. We can find a middle ground like we do in some of our larger parks and things to give them something to keep their place within our world. Now, on the other side of the coin, wolves do have a bit of a reputation. And yes, I love my enemies. They taste good. So when you see that snarling, you know, the fucking teeth and stuff like that, yeah, wolves get that kind of, you know what I mean? Within, you know, our cultural dynamics, you know, the lycanthrope, the werewolf dynamic, you know, half man, half beast. But it's really more reflective of the dynamic between the animal in us and the part of us that wants to be more. You know, we talk about humanity, we talk about being civilized, being empathic, but how does that really translate sometimes with our actions and our behaviors? You know, it's a real It's a great soundbite,
Yeah.
but in its practical application, we tend as a species to destroy everything we come into contact with.
It's because humanity's a virus.
So, in the same dynamic, they look at us like, you're coming to fuck us up. What do you think we're gonna do? So yes, there's going to be conflict to certain degrees. I'm sure there are ranchers out in the Midwest that, from their perspective, those cattle are expensive to raise. That's their livelihood. And they don't want to give that shit up to nobody, especially a fucking wolf. I get it. I understand the dynamic. But this is, again, part of the dilemma to the degree now is we have to find a better balance. We cannot just use everything around us because by default, then there's nothing left around us. So we have to draw a line and say, hey.
We are not anti-technology, but we have the technology these days to balance technology and nature. It's the same way I always say that metaphysics and science should be working together. Technology and nature should be working together. Our tech should be helping nature while nature works with our tech. We're smart enough to do this shit.
Yes,
we really are.
I believe we are. Now, on the comedic side, it's one of those Karen memes, and she's screaming, "Where's the cat?" And my casual wolf brother sitting there saying, "I'd say lower intestine." That's right. Wolves eat pussy. That's the moral of that meme. Okay? Now, you can translate that however you want. I personally, since I identify as a wolf, I find much humor in that.
Yes.
And as such, I have to share said insanity with everybody that can hear the sound of my voice. That's a beautiful thing about doing a show. And that's why I invite everybody to come on and enjoy that dynamic. Because it really is. It's incredible. It's very much liberating. And it really, it gives voice to certain things that, within the world we're told that we shouldn't talk about. Oh, you don't talk about that. Fuck that.
We don't talk about fight.
Look, we're going to fucking talk about it.
But it's the first rule of Fight Club.
Amy makes a great point. We have become so self-aware that we think we are the center of everything. I am, therefore I am. Sam, I am. I will not eat your green eggs and ham. I'll kill everything that I can. And I just made that up on the fly. Thank you, Diana, for the inspiration earlier. Random shit that goes on. Yes. I wasn't joking when I said I had a cast of characters that exist in my head. Shiya will tell you. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, one of the voices will come out and be like, "Hey, we're going for a ride. We're going to the crazy place."
I cannot tell you how many times I've been almost asleep, and then all of a sudden these characters come out, and next thing you know, it's 4 a.m. and I'm laughing my ass.
I'm your Huckleberry. Come on over here, little lady. Let me show you how it works. So, I, again, try to the best of my ability to put some things out, to maybe put a voice to it. And then sometimes there are other dynamics that are just purely comedy oriented. And this one, you can blame the witch for. This is one of Shiya's ones.
Why am I get blamed?
Well, because it frames around one of your favorite words. So this is an old clip. This is an old clip from The Muppet Show. And for those of you, again, who are just listening and do not get the visual experience, okay? My kind of news. Today, some cunt did something cunty to some other cunt. They were both cunts. So fuck those cunts. Back to you, Twat Waffle.
Well, on the non-cunt front today, we seem to have found more cuntage.
Yes.
Yes.
But I took that one because of Twat Waffle.
Twat Waffle?
Shiya just cracked that out on us one day.
I did.
And we all almost literally shit ourselves.
Actually, it was Cunt Waffle and Twat Waffle. So
I just remember it as Twat Waffle.
Yes, it's the Fucktardian Cunt Waffles of epic proportions.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
So yes, sometimes words have different meanings. Now, again, for my friends over in the UK, those words mean a little bit different than they do mean to some of us over here on the other side of the ocean. So depending upon where you're at, and also depending upon your state of mind and how you identify.
More women find cunt offensive than any other word, which I find weird because it's just another word.
Thank you.
It's just a word.
See, I couldn't vocalize it lest I get canceled.
I'm a woman. I can do this.
So, yeah, this is the part where she comes in and
I
runs.
have a cunt, therefore I can talk about
She's
cunts.
like my linebacker. She's gonna hold the line so I can hold back into the pocket and hopefully throw the fucking touchdown without it being an interception.
Yes.
Now, I don't know. I've never used like a sports analogy like that before because I don't really.
Kind of giving him the weird look.
But this is what happens random.
Giving him the weird look of, was a sports analogy coming out of your mouth?
This is one of the, like, again, impromptu moment. I had an animated Joe Namath in my head that had like the big fur coat on. He's like, fuck it, go for it. Throw deep, throw deep.
And I'm just kind of running out in front going, cunt, 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 cunt.
Yes. So yeah, that was fun. But here's also the other here's the other side of the coin. Many times with this witch that I love, it's like a Peanuts cartoon. And AKA, she's Lucy. And my life is the football. And I'm constantly running, trying to connect with it. And she's like, psych! Whoop! And I'm flat on my ass again. KP Hui says, I wrote a short story. Reset. KP Hui says, I wrote a short story called Thank You for Calling Me a... I'll share. Thank you. Please share.
Yeah.
I'll have Shiya read it. Because I don't want to get canceled. I'm canceled already. I mean, listen.
Can I say twat waffle one more time?
Please, by all
Twat
means.
waffle. There you go. I just had to. Because I can.
Listen, it's incredibly freeing when you can
Twat waffle.
let go of some of these insane constructs. And I get it. I understand the dynamic that not everybody finds everything funny. Okay?
But
I
there's
do.
a case to be made to let out those language enhancers once in a while, just to let your throat chakra be nice the fuck open.
But
Oh,
maybe,
Karen.
maybe we should, instead of blaming the word or the messenger, maybe we should look at what it is that really bothers us. What is it that threatens us, that scares us, that pisses us off with a dynamic? Okay, again, certain things obviously become a little bit too much. But sometimes, you know what I mean, chicks with dicks can be entertaining. And I'm not saying from a sexual point of view, I'm saying from a pure comedic point of view. I remember the boys taking me to the movie theaters to see The Hangover. And for those of you who have ever seen The Hangover, there's an infamous scene with the Vietnamese females. And basically these poor guys on the bachelor party end up in this club, not realizing that these beautiful women with these great tits and asses and stuff like that are going to swing around and pull out some very large cocks on them. Now, for most men, especially men that are conditioned within that heterosexual framework, that is absolute critical mass meltdown. All of a sudden now, we are confronted with the absolute worst case scenario, and most men can't fucking handle it. They don't. They can't. But it was absolute comic genius because these guys are all there, you know, hey, we're having a good time, we're drinking, look at the titties, look at this ass, and all of a sudden the dick came out.
Look at this dick.
It was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And they lost their fucking minds.
We have been entertained by stuff like that forever.
Now, I thought that shit was funny.
Bugs Bunny. Tootsie.
Yo, listen.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
You know, people are freaking out, and, you know, listen, I understand and I agree with the dynamic that, you know, certain elements of sexuality should not be taught in grammar school. I don't know why we even have to have that conversation with children that young. But if we're really going to be honest, we've had a cross-dressing rabbit
Yeah.
basically being the face of Warner Brothers for the past fucking 50 some odd years.
Yep.
And nobody had a problem with it, okay? Okay, to the best of my knowledge, it didn't create a trend where people were out fucking rabbits or, any of that type of stuff. These elements have been in our culture from the very beginning. I mean, even the church would take young boys, castrate them, and stick them in the choir because they sound better that way.
You need them to have that nice soprano voice.
Right. So, really? If you look at theater back in the early days, women were not allowed to act. So all the parts that were female were men dressed as women.
Yes.
And that was acceptable. Not only was it acceptable, it was the standard.
It was actually anathema for a woman to even touch the stage.
Right. They were not allowed.
No. It was the holy sacred realm of men and men alone. And if there was a female part and there was a kissing scene, it was two dudes kissing.
So, flip side analogy, 6 degrees of separation, for those men out there that are like, why are these women all losing their minds? Because they've been dealing with fucking thousands of years of our bullshit, man. And maybe it wasn't your bullshit, but if you have a dick, you're going to own it. Okay? And even if you don't identify, and will be like, I don't want to identify. I'm sorry. That's just the way it's going to go. Shit runs downhill. So we all have to pay the price. But in seriousness, all joking aside, that's how shit changes. Now we have lines of accountability. It used to be guys like Harvey Weinstein could just run around and stick their dicks in anyone they wanted, and there was no consequences. Now they're all... Oh, yes. Yes, there are consequences now. And men are like, well, what do we do now? Hey, real simple. Get your shit together. And I'm going to go back to it because I think, I think it really, again, it does. When you find yourself in times of trouble, Gordon Ramsay will come to you speaking words of wisdom. Get your shit together. Okay?
Just don't forget the lamb sauce.
Again, not rocket science. Don't pull your dick out. Okay? Don't do it. It's easy. Just don't do it, man. So, yes. Welcome to the wonderful world we live in. We go in circles sometimes, and we'll come back around, and then all of a sudden, a twat waffle will appear out of nowhere, and...
I can share the most fucked up shit I've heard all week.
Sure.
Random.
Here we go.
So there was in a Buddhist monastery where all the monks within the last month were defrocked and kicked out of the monastery because they all tested positive for meth.
Wow.
That's the most fucked up thing I've heard this week.
How does that happen?
I'm guessing they were having some pretty religious experiences.
See, that's an interesting one.
I just had to throw that one out there because that one came to my brain.
If you were to say, well, guess what? I would have gone to, they probably would have all tested for an STD because, again, despite men's best efforts, sometimes nature has a way of saying, if I don't fuck something, I'm going to fuck a sheep. You know what I mean? Or some other horrible thing.
They were breaking ohm.
Yeah. But meth?
Meth? At a Buddhist monastery.
Yeah, listen, I mean, again, mouth of madness. Not even sure how that shit fell apart and segued. Because meth is not a pretty drug.
No, it's not.
For any of you who've never
your brain.
encountered somebody either high or dealing with the side effects of meth, it's fucking ugly, man. It literally destroys.
They've shown brain scans and MRIs, and it's literally like areas of their brain have gone dark.
Well, I mean, not only that, it has a catastrophic effect. There are so many toxic chemicals in it. It's just, it's a fucking cocktail of, insanity.
Mouth of madness.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was my random fact for the day. Because I got to throw random shit in.
Hey, listen, and KP throws in one, and this is an interesting one. Spartan women would cut their hair, so Spartan men, when they came of age, would be attracted to them after their socially accepted homosexual teen years. Yes. Yes, Greek culture embraced the dynamics that men sharing love with each other is just godly. And the younger the man, the better.
And actually, that was something I was reading about Viking culture the other day, is that Viking men would frequently dominate other Viking men in that direction.
Listen, you see it in the Persian Empire, you know what I mean? The dynamics of sexuality, unfortunately, have been just warped between so many different ends of the spectrum that, anywhere you go in the world, in any given moment, whoever you talk to is going to have a completely different take on what sexuality even fucking means. You know what I mean? And be it a standard, quote unquote, heterosexual narrative or an alternative narrative, as I like to call it, because there's so many variables on it, and it's no offense to anybody who identifies. However, it's hard for the rest of us to keep track of it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to go out there and, put this in a framework that suggests intolerance, because I'm not. I don't personally care how anybody chooses to identify, as long as A, you're not trying to fuck me or mine, and B, it isn't carrying over onto anyone else. You know what I mean? So there has to be a fine line. So you're welcome to sit at home in the privacy of, your world and do what you want. But, that doesn't mean you get to show up at the mall, for the Easter Bunny Festival, and just swing your dick around because, well, my right, my freedom. No, you don't get to force it upon the rest of us. That's why we have these balances to certain degrees, but a lot of times, because we can't agree on them, it creates chaos. Absolute chaos. Yeah, and, for some, it's a dominant thing, a control thing. The obvious analogy from the pure biological dynamic that is men, we want to plant our seed and reproduce. That's what God wants. Okay. I'm not going to argue with the dynamic, but that's not how it works for everybody. So, again, who's right, who's wrong? If it isn't hurting anybody, well, yeah, listen, men who prefer other men can still be sexually deviant. Listen, I know plenty of women who are fucking sexually deviant, okay? I'm more afraid of sexually deviant women than I am of sexually deviant men. Simple analogy. A sexually deviant man, I can punch in their fucking face. A sexually deviant woman, I have to run away from, which requires more effort and energy. And, again, all joking aside, my perspective is that it's not tolerable for a man to lay his hands upon a woman. But, again, within certain cultural references, not only is that acceptable, but it's encouraged. Yeah. Now, you can agree to disagree, but I simply think that a simple litmus test, well, if you think it's okay, would you be okay with that being done to you? And if the answer is no, then you're probably on the wrong side of the fucking fence. And I think it really is just that simple. But again, a little bit of a segue that, what are you going to do? I personally, I think it's absolutely hysterical when, people lose their minds over, it's like, oh my God, he's dressed like a rabbit, and oh my God, they're humping. So what? Listen, if the worst thing that you have to worry about is a bunch of people dressed in animal costumes dry humping each other, you're doing good. Because let me tell you, down the street here, every other day somebody's getting fucking shot. Okay, talk to people in other countries where they have earthquakes. And thousands of people get buried in rubble just for simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I can guarantee you they'll tell you they'll trade their rubbled lives okay, for a full-on fucking guided tour cruise with every furry imaginable. It's perspective.
What gets me is that somebody, or a lot of somebody somewhere, believes that there is this great grand master of the universe who created everything, made everything, and is running the entire universe, multiverse, whatever, and somehow really gives a shit about who and how you're fucking.
Yeah. Person's like, oh my God, what did I walk into? You just walked into the mouth of madness. Yeah, so that's how it happens.
Podcast time.
Welcome. I'm sorry if we freaked you out, but yes, sometimes, depending on when you walk into
Dark
the show,
humor.
you just catch us in a random, moment.
Yeah.
It's not unlike, a Tourette's outburst. Goddamn cocksucker! Yeah, it just happens.
Swat waffle. What?
Yes.
What?
It just happens. And that's not to make fun of or make light of anybody with Tourette's syndrome. I keep finding myself in and this is one of the dynamics of why I try and emphasize this. Context matters. If you're not trying to be hurtful, do you know what I mean? Like, again, I understand comedy sometimes can take odd little shapes. A lot of people don't find body humor entertaining because it triggers them, because so much of it is just thinly veiled body shaming.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between a dynamic that's meant to be comedic, meant to be uplifting, meant to be funny, humorous, and something in the same dynamic with just a switch of the intent is meant to be hurtful, demeaning, derogatory.
I really love the meme you posted the other day about, how women are being forced to conform to a societal norm, but us who are real, who are thick and out there and just being ourselves, we are the beauty.
Listen, I got to tell you, it drives me absolutely mad as a man. And granted, I totally embrace and own the dynamic that my opinion is my opinion. This is how I see it. I share it as such. I don't expect anybody else to, but I suggest that maybe, just maybe, if you just try to look at it from over here, maybe you'll see it. But if nothing else, even if you can't see it, maybe you will just understand it a little bit better, and hopefully, if nothing else, be a little bit more tolerant. So, AKA the dynamic. And again, as somebody who has been on both ends of the spectrum, okay, as a musician, as a guitar player, through my younger years, I had that stereotypical dynamic of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, okay? And just like a lot of other men, gravitated towards the nastiest, dirtiest, fucking most two-dimensional women I could find, okay? The more two-dimensional, the better. Because that's what I was taught. I didn't know better because I didn't have a male role model in my life to say no. And it took me years to understand the dynamic of myself to say, what about this is wrong? And then when I actually took the time and worked on myself and looked at the dynamics of my triggers, my experience, I recognized the dynamic that I was phasing it from what other people believe. So if somebody said, hey, and you put an image in front of you says, this is beautiful, and they keep throwing it at you, eventually the mind says, okay, this is what's beautiful. And what I found as time got on, the outside is an illusion. It's just a shell. What's inside is what matters. That's where character, that's where love, that's where understanding, the dynamic of strength in numbers. Guess what? That doesn't say that people who are quote unquote better looking are absolutely shallow, but the tendency is the more plastic you are, the less you have inside to give. So men typically gravitate towards the illusion instead of gravitating towards the real connection. And the real connection, and I have to say this, I have seen and experienced more sexuality, more love, more passion with women who don't, quote unquote, meet the stereotype. And let me tell you, those beautiful plasticine bar, and I'm saying this for all the guys out there that are trying to chase, the Paris Hiltons and the Kim Kardashians. Let me tell you, it's not worth it, man. It's not real, okay? There's an old saying, dead fish. They're fucking dead fish, man. They're not real, okay? You're better off jerking off into your sock. You'll have a better time. You really will. But when you connect with the women that actually have heart and intelligence and character,
look, you take somebody like us.
They will take you places you can't even imagine.
You take somebody like us,
and I mean that in a good way.
Women, and give us a chance to express ourselves and be comfortable. We'll bring out all kinds of magic shit. I mean, from deep places, because we've learned to be real. We've learned that we can't exist in this little fake Paris Hilton world.
It's a double-edged sword because not only does it screw it up for men, but obviously it screws it up for women because women are trying to force themselves into these molds that won't work.
But here's one thing from a woman to other women, okay? We are shit to each other. We actually, it's not just the guys that need to be accepting of thicker women, real women, not the plasticine Barbies. We need to stop judging each other. Oh, her hips are too thick. Oh, she doesn't have a thigh gap. Oh, her hair is this or that. We women are worse on each other than the guys are to us.
I think again I think it's a side effect because again, the very nature of how society flows is it puts people in a constant state of conflict that they have to hit these bars, these levels, and if they don't weigh a particular way, or if they, all these things that if they don't do, they're less than, they're not lovable, they're no good, and that slowly erodes individuality. It takes away from a person's self-esteem, their own self-image, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy now because it just reinforces over time, layer upon layer upon layer, until, people find themselves at the end of the fucking bridge wanting to jump off the goddamn bridge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's unfortunately where this eventually leads to. Now, again, beauty obviously is in the eye of the beholder, but I submit to you that you will find deeper passion. You will find greater beauty in the dynamics of somebody who is real, somebody that is not playing a part, is not trying to force themselves into an illusion.
Somebody who's internally
simply because
healthy.
Everyone else is doing it or because everyone else says so. And again, there's an analogy, and women talk about this all the time. Yes, the better majority, the better part of men are threatened by women of intelligence because they are conditioned to believe that they are the gods of their world. So how could anybody know better than God? You know what I mean? So it's this kind of convoluted dynamic. So when a woman expresses her viewpoints, her mind and stuff like that, women, whoop, all of a sudden men are just losing their fucking minds. You know what I mean?
This is why they burned the witches.
Well,
Because,
I mean,
again,
you can draw many lines like that.
Intelligent, strong, powerful women. Real.
That's why they didn't allow women within the church.
Or voting.
Or voting.
Any number of things.
You can't make this shit up.
No.
All you have to do is just look at recent history.
It wasn't that long ago. People still, Susan B. Anthony, she is buried here at the Mount Hope Cemetery. And to this day, they have to go and put a cover on her gravestone, her tombstone, because all the women want to go there and put their "I voted" stickers on her tombstone as a tribute to her, which is beautiful. But every year, I mean, it's not that long ago, ladies, that we could not even fucking vote. Your mom came on
my
the
mom
podcast.
was on the podcast.
I was talking about how she couldn't have a goddamn credit card.
Within my lifetime, you know, women did not have the ability to own property, have a credit card, to have a bank account. You know what I mean? Which, again, when you have a conversation about it, it just sounds absolutely insane. It sounds like, oh, this is some shit from the desert of Afghanistan. No, this is our back fucking yard.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And this
is the dynamic of our history. So you have these successive movements that happen. You know, you have the dynamic of women. You have the dynamic of racial. You have the dynamic now of sexuality, where people are now expressing their sexuality in different ways. And again, we're not going to all agree on it. And surely we're not going to all run out and dress up like a fucking rabbit and go dry hump in a fucking hotel convention center somewhere. But if that's what works for you, listen, go for it.
Enjoy yourself.
But also in the same dynamic now, we're seeing the kickback. And I talked about this the other day and with the earlier meme, you know, we'll lose our minds from about a cartoon from, you know, the 40s. And then, you know, other things, we'll have a Super Bowl halftime show basically about wet pussy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We talk about dynamics of, well, we don't want to expose our children to things in school, but we give them fucking, you know, electronic devices that they can go on to Pornhub 24/7 with no restriction. So, you know, again, as a human being and as a parent, it's fucking stupid. Yes, I agree. We shouldn't be doing certain things in schools. Children should not be dealing with sexuality at a young age unless it's absolutely necessary. And again, that's a dynamic that a parent or parents, plural, that's, you know, really relative to them and their situation. But, you know, let's not kid ourselves. You know what I mean? You know, we're screaming and freaking out about these things, but I don't see anybody shutting down OnlyFans. I don't see anybody shutting down or, you know, making it so that way kids can't access this stuff over here. You know what I mean? We have video games that they all go on and play where they beat up fucking hookers and they steal cars, or, you know, they go out there with sniper rifles and hide in the bush waiting to blow somebody's fucking brains out. Which, again, in the dynamic, when balanced, it's just entertainment.
Yeah.
But we already know that some of this shit does carry over. Okay? And again, the same analogy. Guns don't kill people. Apes with guns kill people. Yeah. Right? You know, and in this analogy, we're the fucking apes. Okay? And if it isn't a gun, it's a brick, it's fentanyl, it's McDonald's, you know, we're killing each other in every kind of way. It is the proverbial 1001 faces of fucking death. Up here over the weekend, there was a show at the Armory, and for whatever reason, this keeps reoccurring, that a lot of these venues just don't know how to handle fucking security. They don't know how to deal with the dynamics of a crowd. So something went sideways, people freaked out, and there was a fucking stampede.
Yep.
That 2 people ended up dying and a couple more people ended up in the hospital. Again, absolute fucking insanity that we can't even handle getting together for music without it ending up with people fucking dying. Okay? And that's a true story. That's what happened here in Rochester Sunday evening.
Yes, just this past
Just
weekend.
down the fucking road. Okay?
Yep.
And for no other reason than the people who are supposed to be doing the right thing are not doing it. It's the same analogy what happened in East Palestine, Ohio. We have trains loaded with toxic materials just flying off the goddamn tracks. You want to know why? Because we haven't taken our infrastructure seriously probably since the fucking Depression. Okay?
Since the New Deal.
Right.
That was the last time we had a really
right, the Depression.
Yeah.
You know, and we allow dynamics, we take it at face value, okay, that, well, you know, we have rules. These companies don't play by the rules, okay? We wouldn't have pollution. We wouldn't have fucking, you know, oil spills in the Gulf and trains derailing and planes falling out of the sky and fucking shit just, you know, blowing, you know, because guess what? We don't take it seriously. Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, Woodstock, you know, you can make a bunch of analogies, you know what I mean, depending upon, you know, how you want to look at it. You know, Woodstock was a great example of how people can come together within the framework of music. But on the other hand of it, it also showed the dynamic of what happens when you try and monetize the dynamic of counterculture. You know what I mean? They just fucking ripped the fences down and it became a free show. Yeah, and I don't think anybody actually died at Woodstock either, but you can make a similar analogy to what happened with the Rolling Stones at Altamont, and I'm sure, you know, those of you who are familiar with rock and roll history, you know what I mean? Somebody got killed because of a fight that happened with some Hells Angels. Now, I mean, again, that happens regardless if the Hells Angels are there or not, but because there were Hells Angels there, that, yeah, we're going to blame the Hells Angels because it was convenient at the time because they were part of the counterculture. Okay, but guess what? Every fucking incident that's happened since, there were no Hells Angels, so maybe it wasn't the Hells Angel, maybe it's just a human dynamic. And that's not to say, I've been to plenty of shows where everybody had fun and it was great, and nobody got hurt. But, you know, in Rhode Island, they had a show a few years back where, you know, they were doing some pyrotechnics and boom, the fucking club catches on fire and people die. It turned into like a bad scene out of Carrie.
Yeah.
But again, here's the analogy. That's because the people behind the scenes who are supposed to be doing their fucking jobs aren't. They're more concerned about cutting costs and profits. Every time you look at these scenarios, it always goes back to the human dynamic of either greed or fucking incompetence, and it's usually a combination of the two. Now, again, I'm not going to point the specific finger because I don't have all the details, but I've seen enough and I've been involved with enough shows on stage and off stage to know that when you cut corners on things like security, people get hurt, people die, okay? When you're a corporation, be it a train corporation or a chemical company, when you cut corners, people get hurt, people fucking die, okay? It happens every fucking day. Now, people are paying more attention, so every other day, you see the dynamics. This train flies off over here, this fucking thing blows up. In fucking Tennessee, the Jack Daniels factory literally turned a town into some type of fucking Cronenberg nightmare because of a fungus fused with how the whiskey is made, and now it's inundated. You know, this is what's happening all around us, you know, but we're more worried about, you know what I mean, who's fucking who.
But that's where it comes down into, you know, we're going into an era where we're holding people more responsible than we used to.
We're starting to, but we're not holding, listen, we have to hold the correct people responsible, and
the corporations,
and that's good, and that's going to continue to be a struggle.
Yes,
you know, KP says, and right, we are so fucking failingly human in whatever flavor, but we have the tools, we have the knowledge to do better. So, you know, again, end around type of thing. Yeah, when we can communicate, when we can share the dynamics of our experiences, our stories, our perceptions, Again, we may not agree on all of it, but maybe we learn something. You know, you take what you need, you leave the fucking rest behind. But a lot of this is really about perception. How do we look at things? How do we translate it? You know what I mean? Because we don't all understand each other. So when we talk about dynamics of empathy, one of the things that I have coming up, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this, so I'm going to switch off the chat and switch out the graphics. One of the things that I have found, and it really is incredibly important, are the dynamics of understanding the things around us that do damage to us. And one of the biggest things is what I refer to as weaponized empathy. And weaponized empathy usually manifests itself in one of a couple of particular ways. And one of the most prevalent ways is within a dynamic called narcissism.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger!
Yeah. Now, narcissism is a dynamic that we all carry. To some degrees, a little bit of narcissism is important because it reflects inner strength. It reflects self-confidence. But like with all things, there is a fine line. There's a dynamic of balance. So one of the things that we decided to do to not only continue producing and doing things like the podcasts and the music and stuff like that was to actually create another working workshop.
Yes.
To practically identify some of the elements that are going around us, be it in the past, be it in the moment, or be it in the future, by sharing those dynamics, those experiences. Because there are elements that are consistent. You know, the faces will change. The stories will have different characters, different locations. But the patterns, they're unmistakably consistent.
Yes.
With how our encounters with narcissism and narcissistic people will have a carryover effect, collateral damage, side effects. Again, call it whatever you will. And this dynamic really influences most, if not all, of our lives, because it speaks to the very core dynamic of how we interact with each other, be it romantically, sexually, be it through work, our relationships with our family, our neighbors. All these aspects are part of the human experience. And as such, we all have different degrees of narcissism because it is part of empathy. The whole aspect of emotions and what drives emotions, what triggers emotions.
Like one of the things that you were talking about on the identifying narcissism, which is the first of the three, was learning the difference between somebody who's like a chronic narcissist and people who are just trauma trigger exhibiting narcissistic signs.
Right. A lot of times the dynamics, people don't even know what it is they're doing. They're just reflecting what they were taught, okay, or what they were forced into being. Many times we adopt aspects from a pure survival element.
Absolutely.
We're in said situation, and this is what we have to do. Right or wrong, good or bad, and everything that comes from it now, just like a domino effect, influences the other. So when we can really get into that and not only identify it within ourselves, but understand how it appears around us, we're not only better able to protect ourselves, but we're better able to just live. You know what I mean? Everybody talks about, life. They want a good life. They want this. But the key in getting there is getting around the obvious obstacles that get in our way.
Yeah.
And many times the primary obstacle is us. We're the ones in our own fucking way. And it's not because we choose to be. It's not because we want to. It's because we simply do not know. We don't talk about these things openly because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it forces us to deal with, as KP says, that fucking failing human dynamic. Okay, it requires humility. It requires compassion. And emotional dynamics, especially in the analogy of men, you know, we're taught that that's weakness. We're not supposed to do it. So breaking those conditioned elements and recognizing that, hey, maybe my behavior is narcissistic. Maybe what I'm doing is the problem. Maybe it isn't everybody else. Sometimes it is.
Maybe it's a little bit of both.
But everybody's unique. So everybody has to explore their elements. But in doing it within the group dynamic, it gives us different perspectives. So we can't always see it from the inside. We need the outside perspective because it's over here on the other side of the mountain. So all we see is the mountain. We don't see the city on the other side, but it's still there. It's just as real.
Well, we
just need the perspective.
I'm going to come out and say, if you're wondering if you should attend this workshop, if there will be anything of value to you in this workshop or series of workshops, there is nobody that could not benefit from this because we deal with narcissism every day. Turn on the TV, narcissism. Talk on the phone, narcissism. Go to work, you're going to find some narcissism there. Hell, you'll even find narcissistic tendencies, as Wolf pointed out, within yourself or even within your home dynamic. I don't care how evolved everybody in your house is, you're still going to have some narcissistic moments. How do you point it out? How do you deal with it? I'm guilty. I can turn around and say, I'm
part of the human condition. And part of the problem is that narcissism in itself is another one of these loaded words that once you throw it out there, everybody's got their own take on it. And it's usually, again,
weaponized.
Kind of, you know what I mean? It's not a pretty thing.
I feel like narcissism is kind of like the new pod people call. If somebody doesn't like how you're behaving, they're going to point at you and go, narcissist! And that's not the best way of handling it. You know?
No, I mean, but listen, again, context matters, the details matter, but this is the process. This is where we really begin, I believe. This is how it was taught to me, and it's worked, so I'm trying to follow the dynamics, not trying to reinvent the wheel, just trying to put better rims on it, I guess.
You're trying to put it in a practical application instead of...
Well, because that's where, because it gets lost.
Yeah.
It's great to talk about something in a theoretical aspect. Words are great. But if it doesn't have a practical application, it's worthless to us. Yes, as my sister Diana says, people don't like to admit they have narcissistic tendencies. For example, I have none. Yeah, right. Listen, I'm with you. I don't have any narcissistic tendencies. I am God, okay? I can't be wrong, okay?
Hey, if you're right half the time, and I'm right half the time.
We're right all the time.
Exactly.
That's right. Unfortunately, though, we're also wrong all the time. But that's why we make a great team. That's why we make a great couple.
Yep.
That and I like your ass, so, I mean, that helps, too. Yes. I had to objectify her sexually, so, for everybody at home, you can cringe and whine, oh, the old wolf, he's sexualizing the poor witch. Yep.
Oh, yes, I am so traumatized.
And there's a reason for it, because if I don't, she beats me. So literally, I have been conditioned and trained to objectify her sexually, because that's what she wants. She's like, do it. Do it.
Do it.
So I'm like, really?
Do it now. Yeah.
She's like, yes. Please, beat me more. Beat me more. And I'm just like, no, but I'm not comfortable with this. It's like, I don't care. That's the Aries in her.
Yes, that is. Say, Mistress, may I?
Hey, listen,
I'll put you in
listen, I will share a dynamic with her. She keeps trying to play like this International Women's Day Deadpool game on me.
Actually, that's today.
And I'm just like, fuck off.
That's tomorrow.
Fuck off. Not happening.
Get your strap-ons out.
Hey, listen, there are plenty of guys out there that want to get pegged. Go peg one of them. Okay, you have my permission. I, however, will not be playing that game today.
At least until I roofie you. So there you go.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm definitely, So yes, definitely, you can go to LadyShiya.com to find out more. It's a 3-part series. You can jump in for all or one.
OldWolfMusic.com /workshop for all the information. Mentorship Circle members get half off.
That's right.
Yes. So if you're not part of the Mentorship Circle, check it out at LadyShiya.com. That's where I do all of my
And what is this
teachings.
mentorship circle that you speak of?
And
Tell me more.
It is basically my brain on a plate.
Okay. So Shiya's mentorship circle is basically the witch's brain on the plate.
Yes.
It's kind of like one of those fondue parties. Bring your own fucking toothpick, but hey,
Well,
enjoy.
Well, as Jonathan says, it's worth it. But no, it's self-paced learning and teaching. It's lots of information that I'm pouring out, things on witchcraft, Reiki, spells, meditations, training on tarot, oracle decks. The Wolf has been doing his dream module, which he's supposedly going to finish sometime in the near future.
Listen, we just, again, just
Busy. I mean,
I go as the universe guides me.
Exactly. And also, it's ongoing support and group journaling and shadow working and chat that's going 24/7. You need somebody, you say good morning. Somebody's going to say good morning back. How are you today? I'm fine.
A lot of different
I'm having
dynamics.
A shitty day. Oh, let's talk about it.
And listen,
You
to
know?
be blunt, it's how we pay our bills. It's how we keep doing all these things and putting it out there without having to
keep the lights
go
on.
into the whole corporate insanity of running ads or charging for the music. So yes, there is the trade-off that
let me take a moment to simply say, yes, we want you to know how much we appreciate you, that you are going to support a dynamic that helps us keep living and keeps us helping other people. So we want to let you know how much we love and appreciate all of your support, whether it be financial, whether it be energetic, whether it be liking, subscribing, sharing, all of that. We love you guys and thank you so hard from the bottom of our hearts. Truly.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah.
What she said, man.
So tons and tons and tons
But truly,
of gratitude and all the blessings of the
It
universe.
definitely humbles me. I'm getting better with something. I mean, again, Shiya has to literally...
Yeah, I ride his ass.
Yeah, because I'm just... I'm a wolf. I want to go out in the woods and roam. You know what I mean? I want to smell the grass. I want to fucking chase things down, kill them, and rip their hearts out and eat them in the glow of the moonlight. But, okay, so I have to live in civilization. I have to do these things. So I'm getting better. I'm doing stuff within, social media. Those of you who follow the old wolf music stuff.
Oh, you put out an
I'm
amazing
creating my own memes. I'm doing more wolf imagery because I think, again, it's reflective. I'm doing, more of the music reels and trying to interact with others in the community, liking and sharing, saying, okay, you know what, let's build upon the strength in numbers. Going down, doing, the radio show the other day, expanding upon the podcast, inviting people to come on and, going on other people's shows. And we're going to keep building on those dynamics. And, part of that dynamic is everybody here. Not everybody's always, comfortable. You can't do like what Diana does and just randomly freestyle some poetry. And that's okay. You don't have to. Maybe, again, like Shiya said, maybe you just want to tell some fucking dad jokes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, maybe you have some art that you've done, or maybe, you just did a karaoke recording of a song, or, it doesn't matter. It's the expression. It's sharing a piece of your magic.
Connection.
And then we take the magic and just like a recipe, we put it together and we create these incredible feasts that we can all share and enjoy. We can laugh, we can cry, we can dance together. As long as it doesn't get weird, you know what I mean?
It gets weird.
Well, then that's where I have to kind of be like, I'm a wolf. I don't do that weird thing.
Really, the magic of connection. That is a very strong magic. When we are able to connect, and you express this with one of your favorite phrases, strength in numbers.
Right.
That is the magic of connection. When we have connection, we can create magic together.
Listen, I think most of us can agree on a basic context, and I know this is true for me. There really is nothing worse sometimes than feeling alone, than feeling disconnected, feeling cut off, alienated, unloved, unwanted. It's a horrible dynamic for anybody to have to experience, okay? So when we can, to the best of our ability, shift that dynamic, And I mean, again, I'm going to be the first person to say, hey, listen, I can't be everybody's emotional fucking support wolf, but I'll try. I mean, I'll try. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't care, so I'll do little things. But also, too, some of it is my own conditioning. Lady, I'll be honest with you. A lot of times I avoid some of the stuff that goes on within the mentorship circle chats or some of the stuff I see online because as a man, I don't want to send the wrong message. So when a woman expresses a dynamic of sexuality, usually when a guy jumps in on it, it's just because he's like, this looks like a good place for my dick to go fishing. Yep. Even if that's not the case, unfortunately, especially within the aspect of social media, that's how most women react, and rightfully so, because so many fucking idiot asshole men have fucked it up for the rest of us.
Oh, yeah.
Now, does it mean that I won't try? No, I'm getting better, and Shiya will tell you, I'll usually be like, is it okay if I respond to you? Like, she'll proofread for me. I'll be like, can I reply with, because I want to be supportive. I want to say, hey, listen, women, I love you. Okay, I may not love you in the same way, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to at least be honest in the dynamic. Do you know what I mean? I can't tell you the number of times when I see the post about how people feel like they're ugly or unlovable. I want to be like, yo, girl, you're sexy. But I know as soon as I say that, now I'm opening the door, well, come love me. And I'm like, no, I can't love you like that. So, again, I'm also a victim of the dynamics of my conditioning, of my experiences, of the whole social dilemma of, what is appropriate, when is it appropriate, who is it appropriate with, you know what I mean? So we're all going through it to different degrees. We're trying to find better balances. We're trying to find commonality within all of this stuff. And if nothing else, I promise you, I'm not going to pull my dick out. So if, you've got that going, okay, I'm not going to be that wolf, okay?
Yeah, I have to literally make them.
Yeah.
We have to worry about that.
Well, listen, I'll be the first one to admit, because of my experiences and my history, I kind of, purposely pulled away from some of the sexual dynamics. I had to put it into check to be able to really give myself an honest perspective about how much of my sexuality was mine and how much of it was conditioning, how much it was programmed. Listen, I mean, again, a lot of guys can relate to this. I was groomed at 12 years old, okay? So a lot of the perceptions that I have are based from a 12-year-old's perspective. Mm-hmm. And I know intellectually, in my mind, my characters are like, no, this is fucked up. But there's another part of me that lives somewhere between my testicles and my prostate that's just like, it's party time. We're going to go cray-cray. So yes, there is always some level of conflict. Our impulses, our emotions say, do it. And then the other side of our brain says, no.
Rational thought.
No, don't. So it's not always right. It's not always wrong. Yes, of course, my brother Jonathan has to, yes, us men, we have two heads. Right.
Yes. And some men, neither one of them can think.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my man can.
Listen, I mean, again, it's a running joke, but it is a dynamic. And it's an honest dynamic. And I've had to say it to guys. Come on, man. Just don't think with your dick. Okay? That's not how this is meant to work.
He's not okay.
I get it. I understand because that's what you're taught to do. But yeah, it's not really how it works. And that's what gets us in trouble. But hey, something to talk about. So I'm going to close out the show tonight, and I'm just thinking about which one I want to pull out.
Well, before you start your song, tell everybody about the reel you made today. I love the reel you made today.
I just played around with some imagery and took a 30-second clip out of Demons and threw it out there.
Okay, it is the coolest reel. Go to the page and check it out. It's like this whole film noir kind of look, and it has the words scrolling across, and it's so freaking awesome. I love it. You gotta go check it out and hit that like button.
Yeah, listen, I mean, again, there are plenty of memes, what happens to men when they think with their dicks. You think we figured it out by now, but I guess the learning curve is much wider than originally imagined. I guess that's what happens when you try and surf around a black hole. No pun intended. So, yes, I think I'm going to close out tonight with... Decisions.
Are you in a more of a calm or metal mode?
No, I'm looking.
And thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate it.
Just a little things. I have so many things on this now.
We do this to bring humor and
light.
And sometimes because the wolf wants to talk to himself.
Yes, I like talking to him. So is this actually...
Yes.
That is the correct one?
Yes.
Okay. So for you, my brother Jonathan, I'm going to close out the show tonight with Time of the Phoenix. By the way, and this is specifically for you, Jonathan, when we were down at the radio station and they were playing tracks, this particular track stood out to both of them. And we got a lot of feedback, a lot of commentary about how impressed they were. And I tell you, it felt good. You know what I mean? Because this is one of the, the first tracks that we kind of put together. And you were a big influence on that. And this is just another example of the dynamic of the things that we do. So just like with Jonathan in Time of the Phoenix, which I'm going to close the show out, or Suzanne Kuhn in Her Desperate Mind, or Shiya in the upcoming things, we love working with other people. So if you have ideas, if you're musically inclined, if you play a fucking kazoo, I don't care. Reach out.
Yes.
Okay? Reach out.
Supporting of artists.
There's a place. There's a context. There is a reality where we can share and intermix the dynamics. We can combine the magics that we have and create bigger and more powerful magics, if you will. So yes, wolf@oldwolfmusic.com. As always, thank you again. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, know that you are loved and love the one you're with. Yeah, I had to throw a little bit of the Stephen Stills. Yeah, I didn't want to throw it in with if you can't be with the one you love, because that's almost kind of like cheesy, saying, well, if you can't have what you want, just pretend with somebody else. No, love the one you're with, okay? If you're with somebody, love them, okay? And if you can't love them, you shouldn't be with them. Exactly. There it is. Simple analogy.
That's the context.
So until next time, we're going to close out with Time of the Phoenix. Remember, again, we can all be reborn. We can reinvent ourselves.
At any point.
Just because something is or was doesn't mean it has to be. So until next time, peace out.
it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. You've got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. The book of my life was written in stone. I never regretted all of the things that I've done. Though the waters that flow through the earth erode away the sands of this life. I was no rebirth. Wonder how the time flies fast. When I say now it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. You've got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. Things that I've done, things that I've done, the things that I've done, things that I've done, the things that I've done. If I could turn back time, then I wouldn't change any line. If I could turn back time, then I wouldn't change any line. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, the times are right to die. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, the times are right to die. Days go by, years go by,